Okay, so in this video, we are going to move on from, now that you've made your title block, on to actually how to do drawings, specifically isometric drawings. So when you open up AutoCAD, we're going to go to Start Drawing. And the first thing we want to do is we want to save it. It's a good habit to get in of going to the Application button, go to Save As, Save Drawing, and you're going to name it last name dot isometric. I'm going to name mine... I'm going to put it here in my perfect folder. It's kind of where I've been keeping all my stuff. Duff Isometric. I'm just going to put a 2 at the end of mine because I've already got one sitting there, and in case that one matters, I don't want to lose it. But so I put a 2 at the end of mine just so it doesn't make any mistakes. But you would just name it last name dot isometric. So, all right, so that's there. You're going to save that in your network folder, not where obviously where I did mine. The first thing we want to do, as we kind of always do, is change the units. So go to Units. Instead of decimal, we're going to use engineering. Decimal and engineering are very similar. I'm not going to get into the details of the difference right now, but change it to engineering. Make sure your precision, get your precision at 4 decimals. We could change that later if we wanted to. Inches is fine, and say OK. We're not going to worry about limits at this point because we're going to draw a whole bunch of drawings, all 13 actually at some point, all over this one page, and then we're going to move them into different layers. So no limits. The other thing I like to do is right off the rip, I'm going to go to bring in my ANSI template, so my ANSI A template. So I'm going to go to Desktop, and mine is in this folder, Videos, and AutoCAD, and Perfect. And there it is. And the reason I like to do it is because it's going to bring in any layers associated with it, so at least I have that title block layer. I'm going to delete these other two since I know that I'm kind of always going to use the ANSI one. I don't kind of accidentally confuse myself or whatever. But there's a couple other layers we're going to make. We're going to make an object layer, so I'm going to go to the Layer Properties bar, go to New. I'm going to name an object layer, and we'll thicken that up a little bit. So instead of the default, let's go to like 0.3. Say okay, we can change that later if we don't like the thickness, but for now I think 0.3 is good. We're also going to go and we're going to make a points layer. So points, that should cover the majority of what we need at the moment. Alright, so layers. So then we're going to start talking about tracking. So now our goal is, we're working towards drawing, and let me get the drawing open here. We're going to start out by drawing this one. It was the first drawing that we did in our 13 drawings here. So we're going to draw this one in AutoCAD. So we want to start at this bottom right-hand corner or bottom middle corner, work to the right, work to the left, and we're going to draw that cube and then carve it out just like we normally would. So, I want to draw an isometric drawing. There's 2 different ways I can do it. And it's really up to you which you choose to be the easier way. But when I click the line command up here, so if I go line, and I click someplace, and I start drawing, you see Polar Snap will tell me what degree I'm on, but it's just estimating. So when it says 30 degrees, it's not exactly 30 degrees. What we want to do is we want to snap into place. So you can go to Polar Snap, and you can set your angle to 30, 60, 90. I can even go to my track settings. So right now it's set to that 30-degree increment, but I could add an additional angle. So let's say I wanted every 30, and then I also wanted it to snap at 26, just for one reason or another. Now, I don't want that, but it would be an option. I would click additional angles, hit new, and it would do more than just those 30s. But so I'm going to go through here, and I'm going to change it to 30, 60, and I'm going to turn it on. So now when I click, and you'll notice it clicks into place on that 30, and it turns the line green. It'll do the same thing at 60 and 90 and 180 and all the way around, right? The other thing is, so that's one way of doing it. The other is there's an isometric drafting. So I'm going to turn off Polar, and I'm going to turn on isometric. And what it'll do is it'll take your whole grid, and it will turn it to a 30-degree angle. So now I can click, and it'll pull me. Actually, that's not true. I still need Polar on. So, but whatever. It'll already set my grid up to kind of look the way I want it to look, so that it's easier to see what I'm trying to accomplish. So I'm going to have both of those on. The other thing we can do to make things a little bit easier is we're going to use quarter-inch increments. So right now we have the grid on, and I'm going to go to grid settings. And so my grid right now is set to 0.5. So I'm going to change that 0.5 to 0.25. I'm going to change, oh, that's my snap, sorry. I'm going to deal with snap in a minute. So leave that at 0.5. Put this to 0.25. That's my grid spacing, 0.25. Say OK, and then everything got closer together. Somehow we ended up in dots instead of lines. We have to fix that also. say cancel and undo. But should have just done this, that, and that should not have changed to dots. I don't know why it did. There we go. So that's what should happen. Now every one of these squares is 0.25 of an inch, right? And sometimes you got to zoom in because when it zooms out, it like, you know, this is really probably an inch. So if I had to guess, if I click here to here, yeah, so I'm like 0.6 to see if I keep moving on further and further. It keeps showing them closer and closer. Once you zoom into a certain amount, it'll stop doing that. And so that's, you know, this is quarter, half, 3/4, so whatever, they're inch and a quarter distances, I guess. So if I click here to here, I should get a line of, yeah, 1.25. I don't know, kind of weird, I guess, but it's fine. And then the next one we want to do is we're going to add a snap. So I'm going to go to snap settings, and snap settings will snap me to each one of these grid points. So I'm going to change that to 0.25 so that I can start on an intersection that I can kind of see over and over. So turn that on, and now if I go to line, it's going to snap me here, 0.25, 0.5, whatever. It's going to make sure I click on every one of these intersections. And if I want to get off of those intersections, there are ways to do that as well. So that's that. So we're going to go through and we're going to start drawing our drawing. Sorry, check that. The other thing we have to make sure we talk about O-snap at some point too, but we don't need to talk about it this second. So our drawing, which I have kind of over here on the right-hand side so I can see, but it's this drawing. We are 3 this way, 11 this way, and 5 high. So let's go and draw our box, just like we normally would. Let's go 3 this way. So I'm still going to type in 0.75, even though it kind of snaps to it. We are 5 this way at 0.25, so that's 1.25, 1.25. Enter, it goes straight up. Let's see if that actually, so it should have been 5 high. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's good. We want to go 11 this way. So what's 11? That's 2.75, I guess, right? 2.75. And we'll come back down, straight down. Actually, no, we'll go this way. Making sure we stay at that 30. But we'll go, it's 0.75, right? Is the thickness. Then we'll go down again, the 0.125. The other thing you do is you can draw a line out to snap to. It kind of like infers. Right? You can see those green layouts to show you where you are. Enter. Then up here, then here. One of the cool things about AutoCAD is, so now I need to restart my line. Rather than hitting escape, going back to the line command, or hitting L-enter, one of the things you can do in AutoCAD is if you hit enter, it'll stop whatever command you're in. And then if you would enter again, it'll pop you right back into the same command. So there is the framework for the box that we needed to make, right? So inside of this box now, we need to connect these points. So we're going to come over. Again, if we look back at our drawing, we are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 this way, and 3 this way. All right, so let's figure out where those spots are. I should have made all of this in the object layer, but I didn't. So I'm going to select all of this. Change this to object. Then I'm going to go and I'm going to change my layer after I hit escape so that I'm not hitting my object anymore. And I'm going to change that to the points layer. I'm going to type in PO, and if you notice I hit PO, that's the shortcut for point. And I'm going to come over here 6 squares, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I'm going to make a point. Now nothing happened. I can't see my point. So if I type P-S-T-Y-L-E, that's P style. I don't want the mode though. P-S-T-Y-L-E. Maybe. Sorry, it really wants. So for some reason it is not enjoying that. Oh, because it's not P-style, it's P-type. Sorry, not P-style, P-type. That will allow me to change the type of point that I have. So I'm going to change it to this X. And you can change the size, but I'm only going to need to do that after the fact. So I'm going to say OK. And so if you notice, this snapped me down here. So when I tried to put it in 6, it didn't allow that, which is good because I kind of want to point something else out about O-snap. So we'll just, one more time, put that point in. And I'll come down the 6, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And if you notice, when I do, it snaps to this corner. I have O-snap on right now, which can be helpful and not helpful all at the same time. So down here, if you see this blue box, this is the O snap button. I'm going to turn it off for a second so I can show you what I really want it to do. So right now we're going to snap to grid. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and click. And now that's where I did want it to go. I'm going to click here and delete this one. And I typically want O snap on because there's so many times that it's helpful. So like when I draw a line, like if I want to draw another line and I want it to snap to one of these intersections, see, I have O snap off, so it's not doing that. It is snapping there because my grid is, so I'm going to turn my grid off too. How about that? So see how it won't snap to that? So if I come down here and I turn O snap on, now it will. So, which can be helpful because if you're trying to connect two lines end to end, it's helpful. Or like most likely midpoint is on right now also. So if I go to this line, it's not. So this one will go to it. It's snapping to. It's called node. But if I right click on it and go to object snap settings, it'll show me all the one that's on. So like for example, midpoint was not selected. I'm going to select it, say OK. And if you notice, now it puts a triangle up telling me that this is the midway point of this line. And now I could snap to that. So I'll let you play with those settings as you find reasons to use or not use them. I'll take midpoint back off. That snapping to point is node. So if for some reason your line isn't snapping to your point later, it means you probably don't have node or just OSnap in general off. OSnap stands for object snap, by the way, if that didn't come off. All right, so let's turn our grid snapping back on so that we snap onto the grid. We'll come back here, we'll hit PO. We're going to come up 3, 2, 3, and now OSnap's on, so it's wanting to send me someplace weird, so we'll turn OSnap back off. 1, 2, 3. So now I have a point at 6 and a point at 3. So I can go through, grab my line, click, click. I know it's got to go this way at a 30-degree angle. I'm going to hit enter, enter. Come here, again, back at a 30-degree angle. Click. Now, again, if you have like polar snap is on or grid snapping is on, if you have O snap on, it'll override that and it'll go to wherever you want it to go. So if I click there, it'll click my endpoint. Now I'm going to trim out what I don't want. So TR, enter, it says select your objects. I'm going to select every line, hit enter, and I'm going to start deleting out what I don't want to be here. Click that, click that. You notice it won't let me click this line because this line isn't intersecting with any other line. It's essentially just a line that I could delete out now. So that's all you have to do. So if you're trying to snap to, or if you're trying to trim something, it won't let you. It's because it's just looking at a line segment with no like intersection point. So now I've got my object. It's done essentially. I want to turn my point layer off because I don't need to see it anymore, right? So turn the layer off. Whoa. So now if you notice, I drew those lines in the point layer. So let's go back and hit Z. Let's click all 4 of these lines. Change them to the object layer where they should be. It's all right. Those are good mistakes, ones that you'll get to see and good chance to point them out. Turn that layer off. Points layers off. And it was asking me because it's the current layer. So let's change the current layer also so I don't accidentally draw on the point layer again. But there's my object. So there's a quick version of that. I'm going to draw the second one with you too, and then I'm going to let you do the rest of them yourself. I'll come back in another video to show you how to deal with the isometric circles, but we should have a little bit of time before we have to get in that. So now we're going to draw this object, and this object is 2 by 3 by 2. So what we're going to do is, real quick too, if I come to my ANSI, the whole idea here is that, so if this is my object, and you don't need to do this yet, we're going to deal with this in another video, but if I hit viewports, which is going to allow me a viewport, I'm going to now be able to see into the object I just drew, and so there's my object. If I double click inside, turn the grid off, oops, double click inside, turn the grid off, all right, I have a nice version of my drawing. You know, I can go through. How about I do my drawing utilities right now, just so that you can see what those are. So if I go to drawing utilities, drawing properties, the title is so let's call it 13 isometrics, I guess we'll call it. Say okay. Let's go back and do that again. Drawing utilities, drawing properties. We'll change the author. Say okay. We'll change the name of the tab, and we'll call this ISO 1. How about that? Let's go rename ISO, all caps, ISO 1. Say OK. Then I can click on here and go REA for regen. It'll fill all that in, and we're off and running. We got a nice drawing. So if we were going to do the second drawing, so let's go through here from template. I'll go to my perfect title block again. Go to videos, go to AutoCAD, bring up my perfect one again. Say OK, it'll add that second tab. Now I can start working on a second drawing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to push this one off to the side, and I'm going to draw this object over here. So I'll come back, I'll turn my stuff, looks like my stuff is still on. So I'll grab the line command, I'm going to start right here. Now I've got to go this direction 2 inches at a 30-degree angle, right? My polar's on, my ISO's on, so I should be snapping at a 30-degree. I'm going to type 2 for inches. Okay, and that looks good, I think. And then we're going to go up 2 inches. And we'll go back 3. So I'm having a problem at the moment with limits. So I had said I wasn't going to do it, and maybe I still won't. I'm going to delete this. See how far out I can draw. Let's draw over here again. And just start this over. L-enter. You get to a point where I can snap to it. Here. Go off at my 30-degree angle. 2 inches. Up. 2 inches. Back this way. Make sure I'm at a 30. Yep, 150 will do it. 3 inches. Back at this 30. Again, I'm at 150. That's good. 2 inches. Down 2. Close it off. Come back up 2. And we'll connect our dot. Enter, enter to stop and start my line over. And then I have my object where I want it to be. So now let's change back to the points layer here. Yep, we'll turn it back on. And those points that we made are relative to the zoom. So if I come back in and go to P style, S-T-Y-L-E. Oh, P, sorry, it's P type. P type. And it says set to relative. Let's set to absolute units. Say OK, which made them really big. So one more time, P type. Let's make them small. Let's make them 0.25. See if that does good. 0.25, I like the size of that. I could go even a little bit smaller, make them I don't know, 125 maybe. We'll do one more. P type 0.125. So we'll make them half the size. Say OK, that's pretty good. So let's go through and start carving out our object. And it helps if we put some points in place to kind of make it easier to get started and figure out where we're going to draw. So I'm going to type in PO for points. And I'm going to come down here. I need to come over 1 inch, right? So let's go 1, 2, 3, 4. Click. Then enter. Then we're going to go up 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I think we got that right. 1, 2, 3, 4. So then maybe I'll draw a line here. Connect those 2 dots. Come back this way. Come back at a 30. This has got to be 1 inch. All right. I'm going to hit enter, enter. I'm going to come this way. 1 inch. Make sure we're at that 30-degree angle. Up 1 inch. Okay, so we've got that. Pretty much at this point can delete that long line out, but L-enter. Or grab the line tool. Go up 1 inch. This is going to run pretty much the whole length, so down 3 inches. Then, oh, actually it's not. So I could put a point in here also. Point. We'll come over 1 inch, so we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4. Put that point in. And we'll draw down 1 inch. Come back 1 inch. Up 1. Come back over. Enter. Let's see. We just did that face. So now let's go back this way. And then we got to go back out 1 inch. 1 enter. All the way down to there. Enter, enter. And so you're just kind of working and carving out your object as you go. We need one more here. Another one here. Now once again, I just drew this whole thing in the points layer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the whole thing and change the whole thing to the object layer. Click, click. Select these three. Put them in the points layer. Okay, turn the points layer off. Then we're going to go through and delete what we don't want. So we'll select our whole thing, hit TR, and we'll start clicking away what shouldn't be there. Very similar to how you would have done this with your pencil. There, we don't need that. I think that's kind of our object, right? The whole thing is there, it looks good. If I come back here to ANSI A, okay, we can kind of do the same thing. I'm going to rename this ISO 2. Put the space in there, it should be all caps. Okay, go to viewports, see if this worked out the way we wanted to. PORTS. Hit single, say OK. Click it into place. And now we have two objects. So the idea is supposed to be that you double click inside of this, turn the grid off, right? And then you'll have a viewport just through to this one. Both objects are there. We should also have gone through and deleted this line. So I can delete that from here. I can also delete this one, should come out. Right? But at the end of the day, that's the idea. So you're going to keep going on and drawing the other 11 drawings that aren't part of this. So once you're done with that, you'll be good. I'm going to come back in with another video to show you how to deal with the isometric circles. But other than that, you should be good to go. So if you have any questions, come up and ask.